Hey guys, what's happening? Arush here, and today we're talking about the scientific method. Essentially, all this is, it's basically a formula or steps for how scientists and just everyday people answer questions and solve problems. Believe it or not, all of us have at some point used the scientific method, maybe without even knowing it. So, there's 8 steps to the scientific method, and the first step is to make an observation. You're going to see or sense something. Observations have to be used or have to be made with one of your 5 senses. So you're going to see, taste, hear, smell something or feel something. And that observation typically leads to a question. Now, let me give you this example. Let's say I get up in the morning, start my car, and the check engine light comes on. That would be an observation. I see something. Next, while I'm driving, I start to hear a rattle in the engine. That would be another sense. As I continue to drive, I might feel vibrations in the car, might start shaking. That would lead to another observation. Okay? Now, those observations are going to lead to a question. What is wrong with my car and how do I fix it? From that question, typically what you want to do is go do some research. You may want to go to a website, open a book, or go talk to somebody. When you're doing research, though, it's very important to make sure that your source of information is credible. What that means is, if I go to a website, I want to make sure that website knows what they're talking about. I don't want to go to a cooking website for information on my car. If I go talk to somebody, I want to make sure they're a professional. I want to make sure they have some experience with cars, and I wouldn't want to take information from some random person off Facebook. Okay? You want to make sure your research is from a credible source. The reason why you do research is sometimes the answer could be found for you. That those symptoms or those observations you made may already be answered, and it may be very, very easy for you to figure out. Now, let's say you do the research, you can't figure it out on your own, you take it to the mechanic. The mechanic, they're going to run their tests and they're going to make a hypothesis. They may say, if I fix this part, then your entire car will be better, or your entire car will be fixed. The check engine light will go off, you won't hear the rattling, and you won't feel the rattling. That right there is the hypothesis. If I do something, then this will happen. Think of the hypothesis similar to a prediction. If I make this change, then this will be the outcome. The next part of the experiment is to actually follow through with that hypothesis. Or the next part of the scientific method is to follow through and conduct your experiment. We'll talk more about the components of an experiment a little bit later. But when you do your experiment, the experiment is going to yield or give some data or information. The next thing you have to do is collect and gather that data. Okay, so collecting data. In science, typically what this looks like is data tables, making charts, organizing the information you're getting. Okay, that's just collecting it. After you collect the data, the next thing you have to do is organize it and analyze it. Typically what that looks like is graphs or charts. Now, why this part is so important to graph or chart your data is because that allows you to see trends. It's basically summarizing all of this information. It's basically summarizing all of this here in a visual form so it's easy to explain to people. Okay? After you analyze your data in the form of a chart or graph, then you can form your conclusion. Yes, that was the problem. My car is now fixed. And then you're done. If, however, the conclusion or the results do not support your hypothesis, so for example, if the rattling in the engine light didn't go off, then you have to reformulate a new hypothesis. You go back to this step and you redo your experiment. Okay, so you go back to the hypothesis, form a new one. Well, maybe I need to change this part. Change that part by doing another experiment and do that process over again. Okay, that is it for the 8 steps of the scientific method, and I will catch you guys next time. Adios.